We're back with bronchitis through pneumonia. Here we go. Bronchitis. Dr. Christopher wrote the following. Bronchitis usually develops from a cold, which settles in the lungs and develops into a chronic condition. If not healed, it eventually goes into consumption or tuberculosis. Dr. Christopher suggests comfrey leaf, mullein, and lobelia for the lungs, and flax seeds or psyllium to make sure the bowels stay healthy and moving. He strongly believed that bowel constipation was the chief cause of this problem and many others. Seeing that Dr. Christopher suggests two nourishing herbs, comfrey and mullein, we could easily be sure to drink these herbs on a daily basis at 1 ounce of each herb, or at least half an ounce of each herb every day. You can do hot steams and fomentations with these herbs as well. I would use lobelia tincture very slowly with just 1 drop per cup of infusion. If suitable to the person's constitution, warming up the infusion after straining and even adding a warming herb like cayenne, ginger, or osha, or even pleurisy root could be quite beneficial. So mullein and comfrey are very, very moistening. So if the bronchitis or the cough is caused by a dry sensitivity, a dryness to the tissues, then these are going to be really great options. A very simple option is to drink throat coat tea, which I believe I mentioned when we covered dry coughs earlier. And those are all really great options. It just depends on the person's specific symptoms, because if the bronchitis is purely dry, there's no need for expectorants. If it is dry but mucus is stuck, then of course we want to approach it with that information you got in the cough section. Then we have cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic hereditary disease affecting the lungs and digestive system. Hello, traditional Chinese medicine. Okay. The body produces unusually thick and sticky mucus that clogs the lungs and obstructs the pancreas, which stops digestive enzymes from properly breaking down food, and has even been known to block the vas deferens in men. Taking digestive enzymes are important for people with cystic fibrosis. There's no known cure, but in addition to the medical treatments they choose, and they also have lifestyle interventions. There's a flock of birds coming at me right now. It's kind of beautiful, actually. Okay. In addition to the medical treatments they choose, using the herbal energetics for coughs and nutritional therapy as covered in shredders can help to thin out the mucus produced by their bodies and help fight the infections naturally, so they're not being overrun with a bunch of chemicals and antibiotics. If we can thin out that mucus and give them natural healing herbs for infections, this could really help them long term to have a better experience of their lives. I would also suggest reading any books by Dr. Joe Dispenza, especially his most recent book, Becoming Supernatural. Dr. Joe has a lot of also video testimonials on his YouTube channel, and some of his students have even reversed genetic disorders. So this is one of the reasons why I don't put any healing past possibility, because I do believe when we incorporate plants and I guess this is how I like to word it, when we partner with spirit, plants, and our life's purpose, there's really nothing we can't overcome. And that is a practice, but I do believe it can create absolute miracles in our lives. And Dr. Joe is witnessing it, and I think that's a beautiful, amazing thing. So something to consider. Then we've got emphysema, and I included a link from Herbalist David Hoffman about emphysema and how to treat that. So please just click on it and read it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And then respiratory issue of hiccups, diaphragm and affecting our lungs in a sense, right? Hiccups can be caused by food or drink that is too spicy. I've had that experience. Or by overloading food or drink into the stomach. Dr. Christopher suggests relaxation with a mild nervine tea, maybe even a few drops of an antispasmodic tincture taken internally or rubbed on the chest. So again, lobelia, passion flower, chamomile, there's so many to choose from. So enjoy that. And there's wonderful teas. I think Traditional Medicinals has one called Calm or Cup of Calm, CALM. And that has catnip, and that would be a really great one for an antispasmodic as well. And then laryngitis, loss of voice or hoarseness due to inflammation and swelling of the mucous membranes of the voice box and vocal cords. Remember that sage and thyme gargle on page 110, or at least it used to be on page 110? You can do all sage and omit the thyme in this case or not. I would also use a product created by Herbs, etc. called Singer's Soothing Throat Spray Professional Strength. Dr. Christopher created Opera Throat Formula, which we haven't tried yet, but we do love the Singer's Soothing Throat Spray. You could use an external charcoal poultice, wrapping the charcoal in a wet cloth and using over the outside of the throat. If you have fresh Stillingia, you can choose small, fresh pieces of Stillingia root throughout the day. Pertussis or whooping cough. I put a link here it's a download of vitamin C whooping cough PDF. If you do not have access to an MD or an ND, because please remember, not everybody does. And sometimes we're even in situations where we just can't get to help. So anyway, if you do not have access to an MD or ND who will administer the vitamin C therapy, the following herbs are what we use in teas, smoothies, or vitamin C pastilles. Acerola berry, amla powder, and rose hips, all powders. Remember, no honey for kids under age 1, but we use raw honey for everybody older than that. Some people say age 2 and under, but I haven't had any issues with my kids, so Dr. Christopher suggests drinking red clover nourishing herbal infusions freely. If the child is still nursing, then mama gets to drink a lot of red clover nourishing herbal infusion. Dr. Christopher also used his strep throat remedy, remember the garlic honey cayenne remedy, to help clear the throat in cases of whooping cough. Personally, I would also add onions, a bazillion%. As well as gargling with bayberry tea and swallowing it to cut the phlegm. Thymus vulgaris, THYME, is an antispasmodic, diaphoretic, expectorant, nervine, and sedative, known to help with asthma attacks, bronchitis, and even whooping cough. It has a soothing, sedative effect on the nerves. In the case of dry cough, then definitely combine it with demulcent herb like onion. Dr. Christopher used 1 part thyme with 1 part raw honey, like a syrup. He said thyme is powerful, yet harmless and non-poisonous, and it may be relied upon to help eliminate all infection, to help destroy worms, and help take away all foul odors. It will help restore health to children who are debilitated and exhausted by whooping cough. Dr. Christopher also used the honey and onion syrup. Using the triple threat hot honey could be quite useful too. Rubbing garlic oil over the chest, back, and feet all day will help kill infection and expectorate mucus. As well as the onion poultice on the chest. Somewhere between the mid-2012 to 2014, my daughter's high school sent home a letter notifying parents that whooping cough was going around the school and my family got it. So all my kids and me. That was before I knew about vitamin C therapy to thin mucus, but we used garlic and onions like crazy. We all survived it. My naturopathic doctor suggested we use vitamin A drops to help us with the lingering cough, and that was the end of it. We got over it very quickly after adding that to our repertoire. Unfortunately, I've heard of some people having a lingering cough for nearly a year or so. And I truly believe that with a strong, nutritious diet and healing herbs, anyone can heal fully from this and more quickly than normal. And not just this, but a lot of people get a lingering cough for many months after just a simple flu. So using the diet and herbs together to help with this is really important. And then there's pneumonia. Dr. Christopher defines pneumonia as a swelling of the lungs. Parts of the lungs become plugged with a fiber-like fluid. I know this may sound strange at first glance, but step one is to make sure the bowels are moving freely and healthfully and not constipated at all. The body can expel mucus through the bowels, as I've witnessed in my daughter in 2002 or 2003. I was tutoring our neighbor's little girl in reading, and one day her mom told me that her daughter had pneumonia. So when my toddler got sick, she was born in 2000, I treated her as usual with garlic and onions, but got her to drink red raspberry leaf too. As my daughter got better, I noticed her bowel movements had a lot of mucus in them, but her lungs no longer did. Soon after, both her lungs and poop were mucus-free. So I don't know all the science of all that, but it was pretty amazing to watch it happen. You can use sage to get the bowels moving as well. 3 to 5 cups of hot infusion, half an hour apart. Obviously, if you're pregnant or nursing, don't take sage. Or use Dr. Christopher's bowel formula capsules. The goal is not to cause diarrhea, but just to make sure the bowels are moving healthfully. If they're already moving healthfully, then you don't even have to worry about it. But again, back in the early 2000s, I had another friend, and she thought she had pneumonia. She wasn't diagnosed with it, but she had a fever, and she didn't have health insurance, and she didn't even have a way to get treatment from an MD over this particular weekend. So she asked for my help, and they had no access to pharmaceuticals, like nothing. So I taught her husband how to make garlic compresses or garlic paste to put on the feet. And I suggested my friend take Dr. Christopher's capsules to get her bowels moving ASAP. As soon as her bowels began moving again, it had been days previous to this, her fever broke and she began feeling much better. So we don't know if she had pneumonia, but her sister had it and passed away from it. So she was quite worried. And obviously dealing with a lot of grief and sorrow in the lungs and the digestive system. So I really do enjoy traditional Chinese medicine. I lean towards it more than Ayurveda, but I know that Ayurveda has truly blessed so many people's lives for thousands of years. So they're both amazing if you wanted to study that further. I haven't, but that might be something you're interested in. But I see this theme coming up all the time, the lungs and the large intestine being linked, and the grief that we're all dealing with. Depending on our lives and our situations. But in this situation, her sister had passed away, so there's a ton of grief there. Dr. Christopher has another suggestion of garlic syrup, mullein oil on the chest and back via a saturated cotton cloth, like a cloth diaper, and cover the chest with it. Comfrey leaves or comfrey root, onion poultices, lobelia, and catnip enemas. Pleurisy root infusions every 30 minutes until sweating begins. The cold sheet treatment, hot cold baths, steams, and the Henry Box pneumonia cure, as described below. So here's something you probably haven't heard of before. Henry Bock's pneumonia cure. The great herbalist Henry Box of Plymouth, England says, for colds, influenza, fevers, inflammation of the brain, pneumonia, inflammation of the lungs, stomach, bowels, or any part, this is a certain cure. I don't know this for sure because I haven't done it, but he says, I have never known it to fail even when given up and at the point of death. It will not only save at the 11th hour, but at the last minute of that hour. Besides, it is so safe and harmless that you cannot use it amiss. This wonderful, wise old man had been a physician of herbs for over 60 years and was known as one of the great doctors of all time. The infusion for the tea is made as follows. 2 ounces of elder flowers, 2 ounces of peppermint leaves crushed. Again, I'd probably use spearmint. And 1.5 pints of boiling distilled water. So I'm guessing that's about 3 cups because I don't really know my pints very well. Pouring boiling water over the herbs, cover and allow to steep but not boil in a hot place for 20 minutes. Dr. Christopher often steeped things like this for 30 minutes. So just try it out and see what works best for you. Strain it and then sweeten it with raw honey, then drink the whole amount of tea as hot as possible without, of course, scolding yourself. While closely covered in bed, cover a hot water bottle with a cloth or towel dipped in apple cider vinegar and place on the feet. And that's only if you're not allergic to apple cider vinegar. One of my kids is. So in a few minutes, there will be a copious perspiration and the pulse will slow down and the patient will sleep peacefully for hours. When taken alone, elderflowers are inclined to be emetic and somewhat nauseating for some people. This is true, which is why we use peppermint or spearmint to help cut that nauseous effect. This effect can be prevented by combining them with peppermint. Peppermint is stimulant, nervine, calmative, and antiemetic, which helps offset the undesirable effects of elderflower. The combination is world famous as a great fever and cold remedy. Elderflowers are truly remarkable. In the book, The Alchemy of Herbs, I believe there's a whole section on the elderflowers. Alchemy of Herbs? Pretty sure. Okay. Garlic paste. How to make it. Freshly peeled and pressed chopped garlic mixed equally, half and half, with Vaseline or petroleum jelly. This low vibe ointment is the preferred choice to something lighter and organic so that the garlic paste will be held in form and keep the garlic from blistering the skin as easily. First, massage the body, especially the feet, with garlic oil, just plain garlic oil. Then the garlic paste can be used 1/2 inch thick on the bottoms of the soles of the feet, not onto the sides of the feet. Then wrapped gently in gauze to hold it in place. And finally, a loose cotton sock or wool pulled over the gauze bandages to hold all of it securely in place. That way you don't have to reapply and reapply and reapply. You could just leave it on there. So that's what I did for my friend that thought she might have pneumonia. Okay, and then I wrote Singer's Throat. We use the product by Herbs, etc., which I told you about before. Singer's Soothing Throat Spray, professional strength. Dr. Christopher created Opera Throat Formula, which we have not tried yet. And then there's a sinus infection or sinusitis. The study was written by Jim McDonald. And it's a really great one because I've never had this issue, but some people have an ongoing issue with sinuses that just nothing seems to hit it. And he suggests it might be because of a fungal infection, not just the typical bacterial infection, which herbs tend to knock right out. So I would suggest reading that article and enjoy thoroughly. And then I also wrote a blog about ear infections, and I realized that the ears aren't our lungs nor our sinuses, but so often we or our children end up with an ear infection right along with a respiratory system infection. So I can't remember if I put this article in two different places, and I'll have to go check on that to make sure I'm not too redundant. But anyway, that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you enjoyed the extra articles and all this wonderful information. Have a beautiful day. Bye.